I Know What You Did Last Summer is the latest Legacy sequel being released, and yet another film with the same title as the original. So yeah, I went back, watched all the movies, and now I'm here to rank them from worst to best, and I will be talking full spoilers, so there's your warning. And also be ready for me to go on some rants, because some of these movies pissed me off a little bit, let's just say that. This will be all the movies, even the cheap ass straight to DVD one, but I won't be including the TV series, so to that one person who was really hoping that I talk about it, I'm sorry. But anyway, let's get into it. In last place, of course, has to be I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. Released 8 years after the last film and put straight to DVD, given like no budget, my expectations for this one were extremely low, and yeah, it's a very bad movie. Very bad. But honestly, it's not as bad as you'd expect. But yeah, still very bad. In this film, the inciting incident is a prank gone wrong. Someone dressed as the fisherman and scared people at a carnival or something, leading to a climax where some dude is supposed to do a skateboard trick, then jump to safety, but someone moved the cushions and put a fucking tractor there, I guess. The rest of the film goes down exactly as you would expect. We pick up a year later, there's weird messages, people start getting killed, and they try to figure out who's doing it. So yeah, it's a cheap bargain bin DVD sequel. The acting ranges from very bad to just passable. It looks like shit. There's a bunch of stuff that doesn't make sense, which, I mean, some of the other movies in the series also have that issue, and they had a much higher budget. So I guess that's not really a budget issue. But yeah, because of the budget, you could see where they're cutting corners, and that definitely hurts the film. But worst of all is the editing. Oh my god. The editing is horrible. Just everything about it. Sometimes it seems like scenes were cut, or certain shots at least, and then so many of the kills, it is literally hard to watch. I honestly believe that's what hurts this movie the most. I think it could have been a lot better with different editing. It still would have been a very bad movie, but it wouldn't have been as bad. The movie is also super slow. The first kill is around like the 45-minute mark. And in the entire movie, there's only one kill that I thought was actually pretty good, and it's towards the very end. Sylvian White directs here, and by some miracle, there's like 2 times it feels like an actual movie. So, good for him. He actually went on to direct some pretty big stuff like The Losers, episodes of Fargo, and Slenderman. With the title, I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer, you would think, oh, it probably continues the story of the first 2 films, right? No, not at all. The only connection is the fisherman killer with the hook, who inspired their pranks, and then turns out is the actual killer. Yes, I mean, he's the actual killer. We're getting towards the end of the movie, we're about to get the reveal of who the killer is, and it's none of the people that you might have been suspecting. It's literally the guy from the first 2 movies. Except this time, he's like a Jason Voorhees type of ghost or whatever, and I guess his thing is killing people who accidentally got someone killed and try to hide it. It's dumb and comes out of nowhere, and because he's the killer, we don't find out who moved the tractor. Also about the title being dumb, earlier I mentioned, obviously, it's not a direct continuation, so that's a little stupid. But they don't even say, I'll always know what you did last summer. They just say, I know what you did last summer. Like 2 characters say it, she gets a bunch of messages, so it's not even said. It's a really bad movie and mostly just boring, but like I said earlier, it's not as bad as you'd expect, and sometimes it's like a fun type of bad. It's an infinitely better watch than something like Hellraiser Revelations, which isn't saying much because that's an atrocity, but I could actually see people being okay with this one. And also, not gonna lie, I like that they tried something different. I like the ideas in here better than some of the ideas in my next pick, but we'll get to that in a second. Oh, and the guy that got killed by a ladder in Final Destination 2 is one of the leads in this film, so that's kind of cool. And I did do a ranking on the Final Destination series. That was my first ranking, so go check that one out. But anyway, let's go on to number 3. At number 3, I Know What You Did Last Summer 2025. I just did a full review on this one, so I'm really only going to get into my spoiler thoughts here, which is pretty much going to be me ranting about my issues. But if you want to hear more, go check that video out, and here we go. To start off, I don't think this group really did anything wrong. Yeah, they were standing in the street, whatever, they scared this person, but they tried their best to help him. Like, they really tried, and then they called the cops. Like, maybe they should have stayed, maybe they should have told someone that they were there when that happened, but they did almost everything they should have. In the original, it makes sense why someone would go after them, because they actually did something horrible. They not only hit this guy, but then they moved his body, saw he was alive, and then still threw him in the water. But here, it just doesn't work. And when we find out who that guy was later in the film, it makes even less sense. Like, he knew they were there because he was going to get Stevie or something. So he knows they're there. He knows that's like a spot. This is a spot people go to watch the fireworks or just chill on the road, whatever. So he knows they're there, but he's coming, speeding. Then he actually sees them when he's speeding. He swerves, he freaks out. Why would he do that if he knew they were there and his intention was to meet them there and like get Stevie or whatever? Like, what? Another thing, how does the town know every single detail of what happened in the first movie? They know exactly what Julie, Ray, and them did. They know that a year later, Julie received a note, and they know exactly what it said. Yet, at the end of the first film, it's very clear that Ray and Julie agree they're not saying anything to anyone. And even in the second movie, those details aren't public knowledge. Like, they're just not. And this isn't something that's just Stevie knows. Like, this is like on the internet, in newspapers, like, it's just out there for people to find. And that doesn't make sense. Like, if they would have given us literally just a line, like, or something, like, I guess we're just left to assume Ray came out and told the public everything in between the movies, but I don't know, that's just what I assume because they don't tell us anything. Towards the end of the film, it's revealed that the killer is Stevie, and I don't really have any thoughts on that. Kind of just underwhelming, I guess. Whatever. Her motivation was a little dumb because, like, that inciting incident didn't really make sense. I don't know why she would have to kill her friends for something she was kind of involved in and so clearly was an accident. I don't know. That was kind of dumb. But then it got way worse. Ray shows up on the boat where everything is going down. Ray guts Danica, Madeline Klein's character, and then throws her off the boat. Ray shoots Stevie, saves Ava, but then a little bit later, it's revealed that Ray is also involved in this, and he was one of the killers, and he gave Stevie, like, this whole idea. And then he also implies that he didn't kill Stevie, which comes back up later. I actually hate this, and it makes no sense to me why Ray would do this. And his motivation is that the town is, like, trying to sweep what happened to him under the rug, so he wants to remind them that there was once a fisherman killer. Like, what? I'm sorry the town doesn't want to be seen as a place where people get murdered? Like, sorry. It's a weak-ass motivation, and from what we've seen of the character, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't fit. And also, Ray and Julie, of course, are separated because that's what we gotta do. Just like Han and Leia, there's a couple from an old series, you gotta separate them when they're older. Because life is miserable, I guess. I don't know. Ray being one of the killers also doesn't make sense because I'm 99% sure him and Stevie had a one-on-one conversation and Stevie was like, oh my god, why didn't you tell me all of this stuff happened to you? But don't you know? Or did he just tell you all this crazy ass shit and not mention that he was part of it? Like, you guys had this whole plan. Why are they having this one-on-one conversation in character? Like, what? Also, why did Ray even show up on the boat at all? If they had this whole plan, I mean, Stevie clearly has it under control. She's about to kill the last two people, wrap this thing up, but then you come and show up and mess it up, but then it's maybe kind of part of your plan because it's like, oh, did I kill Stevie? What? Why did you even... Your plan was almost done. It was almost done. She did it. She was good. And you messed it up. Like, but then, oh yeah, it was all part of the plan. To mess up your own fucking plan? I guess the filmmakers just wanted to have another twist in there, but I mean, it doesn't make sense. And with other stuff in the film, it feels like they just lied to us. Remember when I said Madeline Klein's character was gutted and thrown into the ocean? Well, she's walking out of a hospital pretty much fine like 2 days later, and I think she even cracks a joke of like, oh my god, half my digestive system is in the ocean right now, or some shit like that. Like, she was literally gutted, like, stabbed with the hook, and then it pulled up through her body, thrown in the ocean, and then she's like, oh, cracking jokes. But yeah, then her and Ava go to the beach, and before credits roll, they have a goofy ass exchange. Ava says, oh my god, Stevie's actually alive, I forgot to tell you. Then Danica is like, what? Oh my god, should we kill her? And then Ava says, oh my god, that's so dramatic, no. But yeah. And then credits roll. Oh my god. Ooh. People actually were okay with this movie. If this was a straight horror comedy, I wouldn't mind that, because then it's like a parody thing, like laughing at itself, like, oh, haha, whatever. But it doesn't fit with this film, because this film is not that. There is humor in the film, but it's not a freaking parody. Like, it's not a horror comedy. It's just a regular young adult teen horror slasher movie. So yeah, there's gonna be some humor in there, but this took it way too far. Like, it does not work. Plus, Danica shouldn't even be alive. And that's still not the end of it. We get a Marvel-type post-credit scene of Julie teaming up with her old college roomie. And of course, the way they did it also makes no sense. So Julie, I guess, got a note, and we can assume it's from Stevie, and it's threatening Carla, showing that the killer's gonna go after Carla next. And then, so yeah, Julie shows up at Carla's house, and then Carla says something like, oh, whose ass we whooping this time? Like, what? My thing is, why the hell would Steven go after Julie? And not just Julie, but Carla, who literally had nothing to do with it. Julie barely even had anything to do with it. I guess it can be Ray, but it seemed pretty definitive that he was dead. It wasn't like the original movie where the guy lost a hand and fell in the ocean. He could have survived that, and I guess he did. Ray was dead. And they just teased that Stevie was alive right before the end of the credits, or right before the credits started. So yeah, it should be Stevie, which, yeah, makes no sense. Sarah Michelle Gellar makes a return to the series, and a nightmare sequence that I also thought was too much for this movie, but it was pretty cool to see her. Yeah, this movie clearly really pissed me off. I have a bunch of issues with this film, but I had to put it at number 3 just because it is a better made film. It's a better production, at least, than the last one. Like, I couldn't just be petty and put this one in last. Like, I gotta be at least semi-realistic. Like, come on. But I still do think this movie's really bad. Anyway, let's move on to number 2. At number 2, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. Released a year after the original, and also taking place 1 year after those events, I Still Know What You Did Last Summer is a mess of a sequel. Julie's roommate Carla, played by Brandy, wins a getaway to the Bahamas from a radio contest, so Julie, Carla and her boyfriend, Tyrell, and this guy, Will, go on the trip, and of course, the fisherman follows them there and starts killing people. Ray didn't go on the trip because him and Julie were having the most dumb forced conflict ever, but he decides later he's gonna go and surprise her and also maybe propose, I guess, and the fisherman comes out of nowhere and attacks him. Up to this point, they've done nothing to establish that the fisherman is actually back. So this felt so random. And then he doesn't even kill Ray. He just, I guess, leaves him there, which we find out later when Ray wakes up in a hospital. Besides Ray being attacked, the movie takes a while to get going. So much time is devoted to Tyrell wanting to have sex and Will trying to get at Julie. And yeah, Tyrell trying to have sex. I guess it's a running joke in the film, if you can even call it that. That he really wants to have sex with Carla so bad. Oh my god. And then the last thing, or one of the last things he said is like, oh my god, this vacation sucks. I'm so horny. And then he gets like a hook through the face and dies. Just like the ending of the last film, something like that could work in a horror comedy, but this film is not that. The tone is all over the place. There's goofy, dumb stuff like that, or when Julie sings I Will Survive at karaoke, or when Julie and Will are in the bedroom and they think they hear Carla and Tyrell having sex, and then it cuts and it's Carla jumping on the bed over Tyrell, and he's like, oh my god, I just want to have sex, come on, what are we doing? Like, but then everything around it is taken so seriously. Like, it'll be something goofy like that, and then immediately the mood shifts and it's super serious. Like, it goes back and forth so much. The tone is all over the place. It didn't commit to horror or comedy, really. But I guess it is more of a horror. But then it was, I don't know, it was a mess. Literally no one here in front of or behind the camera knew what they were going for except Jack Black. Yeah, I was surprised to see Jack Black in here, especially with dreads and smoking weed, but he really committed to being as nutty as he could be, so at least he was consistent. Like my big issues with the last film, there's a lot of stuff in here that doesn't make sense or isn't explained, like the fisherman just appearing on the island, or the way Ray ended up getting there. That was also really dumb. He escaped a hospital, got a gun. Next day, he takes a bus down to Miami. He finds the exact boat driver who dropped off the group, and then he gets to the island. Ray is on the bus at night while everything on the island is going down. So unless he was already like almost to Miami when they showed him on the bus, it would literally be impossible to get there in time. And either way, it's still kind of crazy that he made it there in time. But also, how did he know the exact resort and island? Because I don't think that information was ever disclosed to him. And like I said, he found the exact boat captain. Like, how did he know all these things? Because I swear, he wasn't told all this. It was like, hey, I'm going to the Bahamas. And he was like, oh no, I'm not going. But then now he knows every single detail, like, of the whole trip. But anyway, we find out Will is one of the killers. He was in on it. He's also the guy's son. And I knew exactly who he was, like 2 minutes of him after 2 minutes of him being on screen. But yeah, I guess he was the voice of the radio guy, or he sounds like, I don't know. It didn't really make sense, but he did the whole scheme with the radio and calling with the contest. I don't know. And the reason they wanted to do this at the Bahamas, at this island, was because Ben, the original killer, has like a history there or whatever. But anyway, back to the reveal with Will, because this has one of the dumbest moments, one of the dumbest lines in any movie that I've ever seen that isn't literally a parody.
You get it? Will Benson? Ben's son.
So he was going by a fake name, of course, Will Benson. So he looks at Julie and says, "Don't you get it? Benson. Ben's son." And then he pauses and he's like, "Hi, Dad."
Hi, Dad.
And then the original killer is there. And this is played completely straight. This is literally some shit that is supposed to be in a scary movie. So yeah, clearly Kevin Williamson did not return to write this one. It's really bad, but I did have fun with the absurdity of it at times, and I did still like the characters of Julie and Ray because of the original film. Also, horror legend Jeffrey Combs is in here, so that's cool too. And as if there was ever any doubt, in first place, I Know What You Did Last Summer. This is the only film in the franchise that I can confidently call a good movie. And you of course know the plot. A group of friends hits a guy with their car, they try to cover it up, and a year later, someone in a fisherman outfit starts killing them for revenge. This is an iconic film of the era, but I feel like it's dismissed as just that. Another late 90s, early 2000s young adult slasher film, but I think it's legitimately a pretty good movie, although it does have its flaws. I Know What You Did Last Summer is written by the same writer as Scream and based on the book of the same name. I've heard the film differs from the book quite a bit, but I haven't read it, so I wouldn't know. I do really enjoy the cast here, but at times, the acting can come across a bit awkward, at least in certain moments. But honestly, it's mostly Ryan Philippe that I would have issues with. Jennifer Love Hewitt, Freddie Prinze Jr., and Sarah Michelle Gellar are fine for the most part. There are some things in the writing that might be a little weak, like when they're asking this guy's sister all these questions very suspiciously, like it's so obvious that something's up, she doesn't catch on at all. Or when the killer plants a body with crabs and shit in a trunk. He plants other bodies, but this is the main one. And then he makes it disappear within seconds, which he does in the second film too. But it's stretching it a little bit for this just to be some guy. But yeah, any issues I have with this one are pretty minor and don't do much to hurt my enjoyment. And I think the story overall is pretty good with some interesting twists. It's by far the best film in the franchise, and in general, just a pretty good movie, so I would definitely recommend seeing this one if you haven't. So that was my ranking. Let me know yours in the comments or what you thought about mine. This is only my second ranking, and in my first, I gave each film an award and talked about my favorite kills and stuff, but I didn't do that here because this series just didn't really give me much. Anyway, thank you for watching this one though. Please subscribe. I talk about things like movies, TV, video games, and more. Or go watch some of my other videos and shorts, like my other ranking, or my review for the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. I appreciate you watching. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.